Dear listeners of the Female Guys Requested podcast, happy Wednesday. This is your host, Ting Ting, and I have been teaching and guiding in Pacific Northwest for the past month. I know you all have been waiting for another episode, and I finally had a few rest days to edit this one out and present it to you. Today's guest is Jessica Olson. She often goes by her initials, Jo. Born and raised in Southern California, Jo grew up traveling with her family and growing an appreciation for the outdoors. She was introduced to climbing through some college friends and has been growing in the industry for over a decade. In 2016, Jo took an SPI course and became a Single Pitch Instructor, where she went to work a summer in Alaska before moving to the PNW to grow more as a rock guide. She is now based in Bishop's, California, is an Apprentice Rock and Alpine guide, and runs the Ladies Weekend Out programs, facilitated through Golden State Guiding. These programs focus on gathering like-minded women to learn fundamental skills in setting oneself up for the adventures ahead. I met Jo when I worked with her at one of the Ladies Weekend Out events in Red Rock this past spring. I was impressed by her enthusiasm, the way she connected with a group of women, and her philosophy of giving climbing instruction. During the interview, I had so much fun. Jo was a good storyteller and had a great sense of humor. She is also a handy person and runs the side gig called Jess of All Trades. Now, please enjoy the show. So welcome to the Female Guys Requested podcast. So should I call you Jo or should I call you Jessica?
I go by Jo, but my full name is Jessica Olson, and I go by my initials.
See, so Jo and I have this privilege to work one of the Ladies Weekend Out weekend in Red Rock, and so that's how I connect with Jo. And I think definitely we're going to talk quite a lot about Ladies Weekends Out. But before that, I want to know a little bit more about you because you are such an awesome being and I really enjoy working with you. Can you just tell me a little bit, because you were saying that you were in the horse racing packing and all that. Just tell me all the stories.
Totally. So I dropped out of college because I knew that life was never really for me. And once I dropped out, I started pursuing a career in horses. And I was a horse trainer specializing with natural horsemanship. So more so syncing up with the horses and the people that you're working with rather than going to the races or going to any shows. And yeah, so I was a horse person through and through and realized that I love the animals, but the people are interesting to work with. And so I started...
People are animals too.
People are animals too. Well, and then like working with kids and everything else, you're just working with animals. Let's be real. It's a broad spectrum, but it's all just a bunch of animals. And yeah, so I still love animals. I love working with animals. I have a cat that lives with me in my van. She's amazing.
Oh my gosh, she is adorable.
She's the best. Her name is Nuna. She's wonderful. But yeah, so I started to realize that I didn't really want to be within that industry or that community anymore, and had started working at a climbing gym in San Diego, and then went full force, full-time at the climbing gym.
So before you work in the climbing gym in San Diego, were you a climber?
A little bit. So I got introduced to climbing in college, and some friends took me canyoneering. We rappelled down 7 waterfalls. It was a mind-blowing experience. And then the next week, they're like, we're going to go rock climbing. And I was like, literally anything you invite me on, the answer is yes, I'm in. Where do I meet? And so then they took me climbing, and they showed me how to belay on a figure 8, which is a rappelling device for canyoneering or for military. And yeah, so when I tested out at the climbing gym to belay at one point, I was like, so where's my figure eight? And they just laughed at me because it's not how you belay. So we all start from somewhere. That's one thing that I always like to...
And nothing to be embarrassed
Nothing
about.
to be embarrassed about. And it's something that's a fun part of that history that I have with climbing and with the people that taught me as well. And so went climbing, or went to college at University of Arizona and started climbing out Mount Lemmon. So beautiful limestone, everything from sport to trad, boulder to multi-pitch. So I really got the full spectrum there, which was really cool to see.
Awesome. So did you go to, what's that, Kochi Stronghold too?
You know, I never ventured outside from Mount Lemmon. We just would go on an afternoon for a day, and it was just a really easy drive. I worked at a bar during the weekends, so I made a lot of money, which was really nice, but I didn't really travel too much on the weekends as well.
So I'm curious, so when you were in college, what did you major in?
I bounced around. I really wanted to go for art, and then I had a lot of people telling me that I would never make it in art, so then I was like, oh, well, maybe I'll do veterinary science, because my mom really wanted me to do that, and then realized I don't really like sciences, and they're really hard, and you have to stay in school for a really long time, which was super intimidating to me. And so then I bounced to psychology, sociology, anthropology, and then just left.
And how did you get into horses? Did you have early experience with horses?
Yeah, so when I was 13, I started working at a ranch in San Diego. And every Sunday, my dad would take me out, and I would work all day on Sunday in exchange for a horseback riding lesson. And I just naturally progressed. I always was obsessed with horses. I had all the horse dolls and just loved all animals, but very much so horses. And so it was my dad's coworker who owned this ranch. And after my mom passed away, they had kind of made an agreement that I was going to go there and work. And then it just worked out really well that I started this partnership or this work trade of sorts. And it was kind of interesting to see it evolve. I went from taking lessons to helping out with the lessons to breaking or being a lighter rider to ride the horses that the owner of the ranch was getting paid to train. And so I learned a lot of the natural horsemanship from this one person that owned the ranch, and that I would help then with lessons, with working the horses, with cleaning the stalls, with weed management, with building fences, you name it. And that kind of also set me up for my other line of work that I do is I'm also a handy woman, and I build and fix things for people. And my business is called Jess of All Trades.
So then I'm assuming you build your own van.
Yes, the van was built by my two hands alone.
Awesome. Yeah, I always have a great admiration. So my husband also built a van for our van, which we lived for 7 years. But still, that handy thing. Yeah, see, I'm out of words. And
it's a lot of work. It's a lot of scratching your head and kicking the dirt because you make mistakes time and time again, but then you learn from the mistakes. And you think that a project is just it's just going to be an afternoon. And then a week later, you're still in it deep. And you're like, I don't know what I got myself into. But we're here and we're moving forward. So.
That's about right. Because at that time, just like, when can we go travel and climb? You're still building this van.
Yep. Still doing that. It's almost there. I promise you.
Nice. So I heard that you mentioned San Diego for a couple of times, both for the horse ranch and then the climbing gym. So is San Diego where you were born or raised?
Born and raised in San Diego, a small place called Scripps Ranch. Not by the beach, not by the pier, not by the hospital. It's just its own little section, kind of more like central San Diego. But grew up there, went away for college, traveled around the world a little bit, came back after all of that, started working at the climbing gym, started pursuing the professional horse training line of work, And that's still a hub that I circle back to every once in a while because my dad's still there. And it's nice to be able to call San Diego home. Nice. But I'm also really excited to be elsewhere. And so currently I'm residing in Bishop, California.
Right. So it's also not that far. It's so if you want to see your dad, you can easily go back to San Diego.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so you say you work in the gym and now you live in Bishop. Obviously, you don't work in that gym anymore. So how's the transition from working in the gym and then go outside climbing? I remember before this interview that you told me about the stories that inspire you. I would love to hear that story again.
Yeah. So the best thing about working at that gym is Mesa Rim in San Diego, and everyone there loved climbing. And go figure, right? Yeah. Whoa. And so, especially when I started working there full time, I would have a weekend off and I'd go to the front desk schedule and I'd look and be like, oh my gosh, Jen has the same 2 days off as me. Jen, do you want to go up to Holcomb Valley? And 9 times out of 10, it'd be like, sure, let's go climb. And so we would switch our schedules around. We'd both work the morning shifts and then we'd go out and climb for the whole weekend and then come back and be at the gym. And so it was a really easy way to create climbing partners, be a part of the bigger community, and learn from all these wonderful people. Whether it was working the front desk, stripping the walls, like taking off the holds. Although I did love telling people, yeah, I'm a stripper that strips holds off of walls. And it was just a funny... I like to try to be funny every once in a while.
Yeah, I like it. Yeah. Stripper, yes.
Yeah, it's fun, swinging from the ropes and all.
That is true.
But yeah, but any aspect of the jobs that I worked at that gym, everyone was stoked on climbing. Everyone had something to teach me, and I just absorbed it all. And it got to a point where I was a youth coach, and I really wanted to take the kids out climbing. And so I started going down the path of becoming a guide. And it also was really helpful that one of my good friends and one of my climbing mentors, Jordan, was also excited to go down that path. And so we ended up taking our SPI course and our SPI exam with none other than Bob Gaines in Joshua Tree. And it was such a special experience. More so specifically in the way that Bob corrected wrongs. In, say, like the very first experience I had with him on my exam, I climbed up toe jam, I belayed someone up, lowered someone down, belayed him up all the way to the top, and then we were going to rig the rappel. And we were just chatting back and forth, having good conversation, and I coil up my rope and I throw it, and I'm like, ooh! He's like, what'd you forget to do? And I'm like, tie knots at the end of my rope. And then he just calmly said, how are you going to fix this? And I said, pull the rope up and tie knots at the end of my rope. He said, exactly, go ahead. And sure, that was a little deduction to my overall score, but I ended up passing. And it was just really wonderful to see that you can learn from those mistakes. Nothing was a critical mistake. There wasn't anything that was detrimental to my health or anyone else that I was working with. But Bob really has a demeanor, and I mean, why he's written the SPI handbook and why he's been such a huge part of the growth within the AMGA is his goals in the people that he works with is to create well-rounded guides, which I haven't had the pleasure of working with all of the guides in my experience in that way. But when I do work with someone that's not to that standard, I just reflect back and be like, that's how I want to be with the people I work with. I want to empower people in, hey, stop, you're safe, but what can you do better? Or, hey, stop, that's not the best call. How can we learn from this? And so that initial foundational building block that I took in from working with Bob, working with Jordan, was everyone's going to make mistakes, but it's how you learn from them, and it's how you can grow within that moment so that you, make light of the moment if it's applicable, if it's acceptable in that way, and then move forward. try not to leave in traumatization because that doesn't do anyone any good. And try to just find that next step of how to keep that motion flowing.
So once you got your SPI, and was that the start of your outdoor climbing guiding?
Not really, because I kind of had a block in that the gym, and most gyms I find, don't want to take climbing outside.
Huh.
Most climbing gyms, I mean, all of their liability, insurance, everything is for what they're creating the second you step into their gym,
So
into their facility.
So you are talking about the insurance thing. So once you take them outside, so like
it's
that
different.
Okay.
And even if you partner with a guide service, there's still that gray area that is like, and again, I'm still questioning it because I see a huge need for that partnership.
Right.
I think that all gyms, that all brands that associate themselves with climbing should work with climbing guides, because climbing guides are the ones that are putting gear into people's hands in the best way possible because they're informing them of how to use that gear. People go to REI or any other store and just buy a bunch of gear. They're not going to know what to really do with it unless they're watching YouTube, which we all know YouTube University can be, a little questionable at times.
Yeah, especially the YouTube. I like the YouTube University that people don't see the overview.
Yeah.
Of the courses. So they might take courses in the wrong order, I think.
Yeah, and so then they're learning these really advanced skills, but they still need to understand the topics of belaying or building anchors or how to deconstruct an anchor or the difference between rappelling and lowering off of a climb, and that you really should know both, because if you get up to a climb with wrap rings, sure, you can lower off of it, but is that the best practice? And what are wrap rings called? They're called wrap rings because they're called for rappelling. It's a whole thing of just like, how do you really teach those foundational skills, those foundational observations, so that people can then use the tools that they have on their harness and the tools that they create in their own mind space to then apply all the tools under these different situations that they find themselves in. And so that was kind of a turning point for me, as I found out that I wasn't able to really grow the programs that I wanted to grow, and taking the kids or the adult programs that I was working with in the gym to the outdoor spaces. And someone that I worked with advised me to go to Alaska and work in Alaska for a summer.
Wait, Alaska? I don't think Alaska has that much climbing.
Well,
rock climbing, I mean.
So, there are some interesting things that I learned from that experience, in that I really did want to become a rock climbing guide. And I went to Alaska and I became a zip lining guide. And it was an interesting experience. And I think that I may have not gone with a company that really resonated with what I wanted to pursue. And at the same time, I learned all of the things of what I didn't want to do. How I didn't want to treat employees or coworkers. What I really wanted to do in the growth of rock climbing and program management and empowerment of programs. I really loved the educational aspects, where we did have a little bit of rock climbing. And when we were able to get the cruise ship passengers that wanted to go rock climbing, and when I was put in that role, I found myself making a lot of comparisons to Alex Honnold. What is the one thing that I'm going to connect with these people that are just getting off a cruise ship? Half of them are still drunk from the night before, and they're going rock climbing. I'm going to talk about Alex Honnold, because it's going to be some way to be like, okay, this Alex Honnold guy, like, oh my God, we're going to go free solo. And I'm like, no. But now you understand what we're not going to do, and I'm going to teach you what we are going to be doing. And then it kind of broke the ice a little bit. And then I got to do a little bit more instruction about belaying and this and that. And it was just trying to make that connection in more of that educational space. And there were some experience, like I got to go ice climbing, which was really cool. And there were some courses that I got to do that were more educational focused. But then it was a lot more of just zip lining. And it was an interesting, again, just like an interesting dynamic of how that all kind of played out.
Okay. So you learn what you don't want to do. And I like that you use Alessandro as an example for not to be Alessandro.
He does great things, and I think that there's a lot of stories around that too, but
it's okay. I also don't want to be an Alessandro anyway.
Yeah.
So I guess I assume that job is short-lived.
Yeah, I ended up leaving early as well. There were just some mismanagement things that happened, and yeah, it was a interesting summer of growth, and I ended up moving to Seattle after that to pursue a relationship, and then moved into a van shortly after that, and was in the Pacific Northwest from roughly the end of 2017 to mid 2019. And that's where I really got to pursue guiding in a female-oriented space and really teaching others about foundational skill sets and what I really wanted to do.
And so you said 2017, 2019. When did you start Ladies Weekend Out? Did you start Ladies Weekend Out?
I did not start Ladies Weekend Out. That was Lauren Breitenbach, who's also one of the co-founders of Terakaya. And Terakaya is a basewear company that's based in Bishop that we work closely with the Ladies Weekend Out events. And so Lauren started the Ladies Weekend Out events, I believe in 2018, potentially even 2019. But she started them in San Diego and Joshua Tree. And then in 2019, they partnered with Colorado Mountain School and Sarah Janin, who is also just on one of these podcasts, and did a Ladies Weekend Out in Colorado in 2019. I was brought on to the Golden State Guiding team at the beginning of 2020. And the goal for my role was actually to partner the gyms with the outdoor climbing. And that was my initial partnership, or that was my initial being brought on board to the Golden State Guiding team, was to...
So you would... they want you to be a bridge between the gym and the outdoor space. So the outdoor space is managed by the Golden State guy.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, and so we tried to create that partnership, and it was with, people that I had known throughout the years, and then this whole COVID thing happened, yes. And everything just dissolved, and it was really challenging, and just trying to be like, hey, we could still maybe go out climbing, but the climbing gyms were all very much like, we need to try to stay afloat, our buildings are being closed, we don't know what to do. And so then it turned into this whole thing of, okay, well, that door is kind of closed right now, but how do we potentially move forward with other things? And so within Golden State Guiding, I was also brought on to co-guide these Ladies Weekend Out events. And then from there, when was that? I took my rock guide course in Colorado, September, October 2020, because it got pushed back from, I was supposed to take it in April. That whole COVID thing happened. And then after that, we had our Ladies Weekend Out Joshua Tree event, which Lauren and Sarah and a couple other guides went to. We actually had a lot of honorary Ladies Weekend Out guides because we just didn't have enough female guides. So we had Ryan Hardigan, the owner of Golden State Guiding, out with us, and Kyle, who showed up to a lot of our events, and just a wonderful human. And so it was really cool to see the type of community that was able to help in making those events possible, especially getting back off the ground after COVID. And then come 2021, that's when things really kind of took off. So we ran our Ladies Weekend Out San Diego event. I believe it was in March 2021, because we usually just kind of have a general flow of events. So it used to be San Diego for the winter or early spring, And then Colorado was the summer, and then Joshua Tree was the fall. And when I got brought on, I really wanted to grow these programs because something that's really special about these Ladies Weekend Out events, it's not just a bunch of ladies getting together to go play in the mountains. I mean, yes, we love that and we're all about that, but it's more so about teaching some sort of foundational skill set so that those individuals have an understanding of what to look at with gear, with anchors, how to best prepare themselves for a day out, for whatever adventure we set out for, and being able to ask the questions. There's no stupid questions. There's only some silly answers, so everyone better be ready for that. But we make it really light and fun, and it's empowering and encouraging and a space for people to just be and learn and have fun. And one of the places that really called to me was Bishop. And I really wanted to explore more in the general area of Bishop and potentially bring a Ladies Weekend Out to Bishop. And so that's what we did. So in the spring of 2021, we had our first Ladies Weekend Out Bishop, which we deemed Ladies Weekend Out 2.0, because we went further in the vertical and really dove into multi-pitch climbing. So we had a couple different packages where you could choose from a variety of single pitch climbing days or multi-pitch climbing days. And then we go out and we learn an adventure. And then from there, we also created a Ladies Weekend Out Mammoth event. And that was Ladies Weekend Out mental approach to climbing. So we assessed the fear of falling, how to overcome those fears, how to overcome any fear that you face, whether you're top roping or when you tie into the sharp end, and really going over just that safe space of understanding the skills and how to push yourself, whether you want to be a top rope queen or you really want to jump and take the lead and set up your own climbs.
So let me ask you a few clarification questions. So you said Lauren started the Ladies Weekend Out program. So, and it's not a guide service.
It's not a guide service.
So this program has always been, like, say, working with other guide services?
Yes.
Okay. So even so the initial one in Joshua Tree is working with, I don't know, there's a lot of guiding services there, but somebody.
All of the California events so far, we've worked with Golden State Guiding. So Ladies Weekend Out used to be a program within Golden State Guiding, and I would say it still very much is. Golden State Guiding is our parent company. We work very closely with Ryan. He is my yes man. He helps me with everything under the moon, which has just been so cool to see that support grow throughout the 4 years I've been working with him and throughout the years to come as well. And so with the Joshua Tree and all of that, we work under Golden State Guiding's permits, insurance, liabilities. And then when we've gone out to Colorado, we're partnering with Alpine to the Max, and they allow us to access their permits, insurance, and liability. And we work with them to create the Ladies Weekend Out Colorado.
So the Alpine to the Max is Colorado.
Is Colorado.
Okay.
Yeah.
But right now, all the California event, including, say, San Diego, Joshua Tree, Bishop, is with Golden State Guide.
Correct.
I see. And then hopefully that there will be, if we keep expanding, say, then there will be some other guide services that you might want to collaborate with.
Totally. And that's definitely a vision I have through the Ladies Weekend Out events, through the mentorship programs that I'm sure we'll touch base on in a little bit. But being able to not be a guide service, there are so many amazing guide services out there. It would be wonderful to work with them. It'd be wonderful to partner, especially if you have other females on your team. I'd love to bring my team in collaboration with your team to learn more of the land of where your team truly recreates and goes out and climbs and does all these things, and then bringing the support team in for hosting bigger events.
And how about your role? I know that you are one of the guides for a lot of Ladies Weekend Out events. But what are other roles that you play?
So I'm the program manager for all of the Ladies Weekend Out events. as well as one of the lead rock guides.
So what does it even mean? What's your job description as a program manager?
I've been doing just about everything on the back end for the Ladies Weekend Out events. So all of the Instagram posts, all of the e-newsletters. Ryan was exponentially helpful in helping start the website. I've been doing all of the extra things since we kind of created the foundation for the website. I've been doing all of the brand partnerships, all of the email communications. So there's quite a lot that I take on for these programs.
That's a lot of. I mean, I've read a few newsletters now. I was like, whoa, it's like quite time consuming, right? So, I mean, obviously, I assume that you probably have those written in some sort of block format already, but then you still have to take that time to consolidate the information into a newsletter.
Yeah.
Right. And then not to mention like talking with a partner. So it's like full-time job, I would say, huh?
Yeah, I've been trying to figure out how to create more of a financial stability around my passion projects, but that's always been kind of the way I flow. I mean, handiwork definitely pays the bills, and that's super awesome, and I really enjoy working with my hands, whether it's with rock or with my tools. And I see there's such a huge need for the Ladies Weekend Out programs, for feeling heard and seen within these spaces that are male-dominated, and that I was super fortunate in that the people that really created that space, allowing me to grow as a climber, were so welcoming, and it was such an amazing experience to have that community. I mean, I worked at that gym for 3 years, and I saw all sorts of people come and go, the people that still climb there, the people that still work there. They truly are wonderful and really a part of that bigger community that I was really grateful to have. But at the same time, not everyone has that. And one thing that I would love to create is more accessible spaces for people to grow, be that scholarships or these programs being more accessible in some other way of working with climbing gyms and having my guide team go to different climbing gyms to teach, similar to like the American Alpine Club does that for a couple of different gyms where they host little like anchor classes or self-rescue classes and this and that. I think all gyms should do that. All gyms should play a bigger part in the impact that they're having on these outdoor spaces, on the climbing community. Because the first point of access is not going to be grabbing a rope, grabbing a bunch of draws, and going out climbing. It's going to be, I don't know what I'm doing. Let's go hang out at a climbing gym and go get beers afterwards. And then, lo and behold, you get a membership, then you're hooked on the sport, and then you're buying all of the gear. And then you're going out to these places with your climbing gym tags, still on your harness. And then all of these climbers that know what they're doing are rolling their eyes because they see this time and time again of people coming straight from a gym, going to a crag, and then having some sort of failure, some sort of catastrophe, or just being a general kook and not knowing what to do.
So from what I've heard and seen, so Ladies Weekend Out, you're trying to create a safe space for, well, right now for women, to grow, to learn skill, to be self-sufficient, to build their community.
Yes.
Yeah. Do you have an official mission statement or something?
I do, and I don't have it memorized, but it's on the website.
Oh, it's on the website. So, all right, what's the website?
www.ladiesweekendout.com.
Awesome. So people can, and we've been talking a lot about climbing because we both are well climbers. But I do know Ladies Weekend also have other activities other than climbing. So what are those?
Yeah, so we've started to do, well, I guess 3 years running. We've done split boarding Ladies Weekend Out event up in Mammoth Lakes. And that's a 2-day event. We're sponsored by Weston Backcountry, which is an amazing, I mean, they have everything from skis to split boards to solid boards. And so we have a full fleet of Weston demos that we pass out for that weekend and get a bunch of women out learning how to split board. Taylor, one of our lead guides, it's the tips, tricks, and turns practice led by Taylor, the triple T with the T threat. And we just go out and we learn how to go up and how to come down, how to do some turns, how to maneuver around and just feel comfortable walking. And then we do a little tour. We go up to the top of a little hill and we go down. And we do that a couple times and just get that repetition in. So the split boarding is something that's really fun. We're hoping to grow that potentially out in Colorado, potentially some area courses. We'll see what happens. And we're also doing backpacking programs. And that's something we kicked off last year. We did an amazing 3-day trek in Yosemite, and we'll be going back there this year as well.
And any like future kind of program? I know that you will always want to expand this program, like say international trips or well, actually probably more places in the States too, but or different type of disciplines.
Yeah, so I took my Alpine Guide course last year and would love to incorporate those teachings within an Alpine-specific Ladies Weekend Out event. Also doing more like ski mountaineering type of events. We also run trips on Shasta, so there's a lot of ideas being thrown around in that realm. Also working with a couple other organizations to bring Ladies Weekend Out area course, a hut trip for those backcountry venturers that love to go and play in the snow. And more recently, there's been some conversations about going down to Potrero Chico. And that's in Mexico. For those that have never heard of it, definitely go check it out. It's beautiful, 1,000-foot limestone cliffs, just a really awesome adventure. So there's a lot of ideas flowing around. I love to say I'm a huge idea person. I'm also a doer in what makes sense. And so this is not a sprint. This is a marathon. Not even a marathon. It's just life. And so I don't want to throw everything into everything all at once. I'm trying to really build that solid team of leaders within our guide team, including yourself, and figuring out how we can grow the programs that the team wants to lead. So far, I've been to just about every single Ladies Weekend Out event that I've run or helped in some way, shape, or form. And it's amazing, and it's also exhausting. And if we were to expand more, I can't do it all.
Right, it's not a sole person job.
No,
yes.
And so that's something that we're putting a lot of time and energy into this year is the team that we're growing from the inside. And so I'm asking all of my team members, what trips get you most excited? What type of event are you most excited to teach and grow with? And my goal within that is to then foster that community and get those guides to then be the leaders within those spaces and be able to be that true support role in, I'll be there, yes, gal. And I'll help with all the promotions. I have taken about 95% of the photos that are on the website and love photography. And so I'll go out, I'll take photos, I'll do all the promotion. I'm super happy to do that. And with the goal to then put the guides in that leadership role of them running their own Ladies Weekend Out programs too.
Awesome. I might have some ideas.
Great.
We certainly can talk about it. So let's talk a little bit about, so you're talking about mentorship. So you talk about you have a handy business, and you have this program manager and guide position in Ladies Weekend Out, and you are super enthusiastic about this. Oh, on the side note, the last trip that I attended, you say that there's one person who is already like her 7th or 8th Ladies Weekend
Jen.
Out, right? It's not surprising, but it's also blown my mind. So, what do you think is the stickiness that Ladies Weekend Out program provide?
Oh, man. I mean, the community and the people. I mean, just this past weekend, we were out in Vegas and I was biting all of my nails off to the point where I chipped a tooth. But
wow, you have very hard nails.
I know, right? But anyways, I was so nervous because of the rain.
Definitely. And
it was a 20% chance. And then I went out climbing, and then I came back, and it was a 50% chance. And I was like, oh my gosh, we have this one weekend to put this event out. And I emailed all of the ladies. We had 12 ladies coming out. And I was like, hey, this is what we're looking at. Here are our weather points. Here are the forecasts that we're looking at. I want to make sure everyone is educated in our decisions that we're making. And just so you know, we're still running the weekend, but I want to try to facilitate this so everyone's comfortable. We had people flying in from out of town. People were renting gear. It was just like this whole aspect. And lo and behold, every single person showed up that Thursday night. There was some wind whipping. It was a little brisk and cold. Everyone set up tents. And we made the most of the weekend. And Friday, we went out climbing.
In the rain.
In the rain. On limestone. In sharp, interesting rock that was not Red Rock Canyon. And the second day, sure, the clouds cleared, but most of the group went to a climbing gym. My group, we just did ground school and drove around the park because we just wanted to see it. And we just made the most of the weekend. And the last day, it was over 24 hours that it had stopped raining. And so we as a team went into the Calico Basin and found the southernmost facing rock, found that it was dry, and topped roped some climbs. And so with that story, that is what the Ladies Weekend Out is all about. It's making the most of the situation. We had planned on going multi-pitch climbing. We had planned on climbing on this beautiful red sandstone that everyone comes to Red Rock to see. And even though I told everyone, hey, does anyone want an Airbnb? Hey, does anyone want any help with anything going on? Everyone's like, nope, we'll see you there. And every single person was just like, we're so excited to be here. We're so excited to learn from your team, to be a part of this awesome community. And lo and behold, we all learned, we all grew, and we all were able to still stay in our small groups and really cater to what each person wanted to go over. And how each day flowed. We had bonfires second 2 nights. And it was just really wonderful to see everyone swapping numbers, sending photos, and just being friends. And that was so special to see that even without the climbing, even without the initial goal being achieved, we're still able to come together. We're still able to have a really wonderful time and adapt to the changes. It's the only thing that's constant in life.
Yeah. I guess, the community part is quite fascinating in this group of women, for sure. Just like you said, that the initial people set out to do, well, sometimes it just can't happen due to the different factors. But still people know how to adapt to the situation, and they got support from their group.
Totally.
Right. So so you have, so you have handy business. You have Ladies Weekend now. And I know that we were talking about you have mentorship movement. Is that how you call it?
Yeah, the mentor movement.
Mentor movement.
Yeah.
Can you elaborate a little bit on that mentor movement?
Yeah, the mentor movement is this big idea I've had for a while now. Ever since I was working up in the Pacific Northwest, I really wanted to create a deeper program that allowed leaders in outdoor spaces to work with a guide team in solidifying their skills and also seeing how we operate and run programs to then take and grow their own leadership skills for if they're going back to a climbing gym, if they're going back to their family and want to take their kids out, or their friends, or whomever it is that they're just going out and being able to be a good partner. Really solidifying their relationships, if you will. So trying to grow those skills, and through the mentor movement, my goal is similar with the Ladies Week and Out events.
So is mentor movement also targeted to women, or is
everyone?
Everyone, okay. And you think that it's very important. Is that because your personal experience, you have like great mentorship that like happen in your life, or why, or if not, why do you think that's like very important?
Yeah, I mean, I've had a wide variety of mentorship throughout my life. There hasn't necessarily been just one person I've looked up to. It's been a wide spectrum, from people at the climbing gym to people that I learned how to climb with when I was in college, to doing my first 6-week road trip when I was driving up to Alaska, and just finding people from notes on the creek pasture board in Indian Creek and trying to, I think that's what it's called, but the boards at Indian Creek, and just like finding people to just go climb with. And I think at that point I was very much like in my own. I knew what I was doing, but it took me a lot of time to get there. And for me, I specifically remember going out cragging one day with someone I was fairly new climbing partners, and they built an anchor I wasn't familiar with, and I was just like, I've never seen that before. Like, what are you doing? Like, what is that? And they're like, I don't know. Someone just showed me, and this is what I do. And I was like, but why? And they're just like, just do it. And I'm like, no, but why? Like, why is that like that way? And that was another point that I just really wanted, like, I was drawn to taking the SPI course and then going down that path, is because I wanted to understand the why. And I wanted to learn from someone, and that's why we went with Bob Gaines, because, I mean, he's Bob Gaines. Like, if you had the opportunity to do that with anyone, like, that's kind of the person that, yeah, it's Bob Gaines, you know? Anyways, but yeah, I think that I had such a rare, maybe not rare, but I just had like so many different mentors throughout the years, and I really want to hone in on that mentorship, because I feel like it's something that is so vastly talked about, the mentorship gap, and
right.
How can we, I mean, the AMGA, I'm an apprentice rock guide. Under any other discipline, if I'm an apprentice anything, that means that I can go and work with someone and learn under someone and learn with that person. But the thing about guiding is, it's like, great, you have your rock guide course under your belt. Now you can go out and guide these things by yourself, do it, and have fun. And don't fuck up. And it's just like, okay, but like, you're not actually learning under people. Not necessarily. There's some guide services, maybe like the really, really big ones, but then you have to start at the bottom and build your way up. And I've never really been about that, because I worked for what I thought was a really big guide service, and I started at the bottom, and I was like, why am I even here? Like, it didn't align with the means of how I learn and how I wanted to learn with other people. And it felt like you were just kind of thrown into these specific trips because that's where they needed you and that's what was running. But like, even though you wanted to do other things, it didn't matter. You had to put your head down and grin and bear it. And that's not, in my vision, that's not where I think, if you really want to be an outdoor educator, if you really want to grow in that way, that's not the most ideal way to grow. And so being able to create programs that really, like with the Ladies Week and Out, having people that come back time and time again, it's because they're able to learn with us. We're able to see their growth, and then we're able to continue to check them off in the ways that they want to continue to grow. And so same with the mentor movement, being able to have some sort of template so that they're kind of just checking off all of these skills. Like we've talked about, like having a booklet and like having an actual like guidebook of sorts of how to be a solid belayer, how to be a solid climber, how to just be a good human in the climbing world. And being able to check off belaying skills, being able to check off rappelling skills, anchor building, and this and that. And then so you have this booklet that you can go back on. You have this progression as a climber. You have this way, and not just as a climber, I mean, with any sport too. It just takes that foundational building of, hey, here are those skills, and I keep going back to foundation because it is so important. If you have that foundational skill set, just like when you're pouring the concrete on a slab on a new home project, if that slab is cracked, if you didn't put your pipes in the right place, if like something is weird, the rest of your structure is going to be messed up for the rest of its life. And so, sure, there's ways that you can mitigate some of those cracks, and you can fix some things and move the toilet over in a different place, whatever. But if you really take time in solidifying that foundation and working on those skills, it's going to continue to set you up for success in the future. How you tie your figure eight knot, time and time again, making sure that it's the same way, making sure that it looks right, making sure that your knots are well dressed, making sure that your rope is a certain way. All of those things might be little micro nuances, but in the macro, when you're able to align all those micro things in line, everything just flows so much better. And then you're able to take those skills from single pitch rock to multi-pitch rock to alpine, or you're able to take those inbound snowboarding skills to splitboarding techniques to mountaineering and going out on a big mountain and being safe out there. And so being able to work with guides and work with leaders and people that really love what they do and love the outdoor spaces, you're not just connecting people to those places, but you're showing people, what is the thing that I say? You can't protect something you don't love, and you can't love something you don't know. So being able to teach those skills and branching out to understanding the places that we recreate and how we recreate in them, you develop a deeper passion for those places, those spaces, and the things that you're doing. And so you can be a better advocate to the places that you're recreating. You can be a better advocate to the people at the crag. And you can really make that difference in that bigger picture of what we're doing and how we're doing it.
Feel that recent years and the mentorship has been kind of hip word that it seems like everybody's talking about it. Mentor. And I understand that because it's quite important. Like my personal journey is like, I always find people to learn, because you take all these courses. It's just the start, and then you have to practice, right? Mm-hmm. Just like ANGA said, okay, right now you do your rock guide course, and then you have to accumulate so many clients, so much experience to take the next level course. But then somehow in ANGA, they, even though it's called Apprentice Rock Guide, but you don't really have a very clear mentorship. Yeah. Like, where am I gonna find mentor? If you work for a bigger guiding service and they have some sort of structure already built in, maybe you're lucky, then you can find, and then you can shadow and something. But I think most of the time, I'll just see like Facebook posts, people just say, I have done this course, I need somebody to help me, to mentor, so can we go climb together? But then it's very random. And sometimes I think that, wow, if I can set it in a very organized way, then maybe people can achieve the same result within a shortened time frame. Mm-hmm. I mean, I just have written an idea about mentorship too. So I'm like wondering exactly what kind of structure you are thinking.
Yeah, to have some sort of weekend program. And so currently my thought with that is to have, like, the very first program is literally called Solidifying Your Relationship. And
then what is it about, solidifying your relationship?
Yeah, so solidifying your relationship is all about how to be a good partner. If you have an experienced climber and say you don't want to lead, but you love going out climbing and you want to support that friend to a T, but you're not leading, you're not putting anything up, well, the best way for you to be a good partner is understand, one, how to belay, lead belay and top rope belay and be really good at it. And 2, understand how to not just build anchors, but how to take them down by both rappelling and lowering off of a climb, depending if there's fixed gear, like carabiners up at the top, or if there's wrap rings, which usually simulate that you're supposed to rappel a route, so you're not putting wear and tear on that anchor. And so that's really the first point of solidifying your relationship. How can you be the most resourceful partner? Not just the top rope queen. I love being a top rope queen, but I also love helping my partner out. If my partner wants to put up routes all day and I can just top rope it, hell yeah, but I'm going to make sure that I can get that rope down, get all of their gear off the wall, and move forward with our day. And so that's really the focus on that first step of the program. And then the second step is becoming a leader. And then you'd go into more so setting up the anchors, what it is to lead sport or lead trad. And out of those 2 weekends, you get a really solid understanding of just simplicities of relationships and what it looks like to take down an anchor, and then what it looks like to actually put it up as well. And at the end of those 2 weekends, you don't have to become a leader in lead climbing, but ideally you can go to a local crag that maybe has some easily accessible top ropes. And then you can throw some top ropes down and climb with your friends. Or you can go out to, say, Red Rock or any of these other places and just have fun being able to climb any of the routes. Know that you have all of the gear, not just on your harness, but also in your head to get out of those situations when you come to the top of the anchor and it's your turn to take down the rope. Be that, again, rappelling or cleaning in whatever fashion is applicable in that way.
That kind of remind me that I used to teach for NOS, and we talk about leadership. And then leadership not necessarily means that you always have to be the driver, right? So you can be an active follower, and then just like you said, you can be a safe and very useful follower. And then so you can belay really well. People the leader doesn't have to worry too much about that. So that's also one type of leadership. So it seems like your structure is more like, so people can just, because climbing, I would say, is mostly a community sport. We already talked about we are not going to be external.
Yeah.
So we will go out with other people. So it seems like you want to build that so they can first make themselves useful in that situation, and then eventually, if they feel comfortable, they can step up, like one step after the other. Maybe the leader for their friend or family, or potential leader for their community, or potentially, if they are like really into it, they could potentially become a guide too.
Totally. It's just creating whatever experience that allows them to feel empowered and to understand what goes into what we do. And like you said really well, it's just like it allows them to go in whatever direction they want to go in.
And so, you seem like you have a lot of things on your plate. Did you do anything with your mental movement yet?
I tried to launch it and realized that I needed help. It's a really big idea, and it was just me running it. And I'm also running all of these other programs. I do this a lot where, again, I'm an idea person. I love all these ideas, and I want to make everything happen. But I am currently in more of a space that I'm trying to create that team and find like-minded individuals so that when these programs truly kick off and when these programs really move forward, they can continue. Because that's the thing that I'm finding. I am in an extreme burnout right now. I feel like I just went climbing and had fun for myself in like the first time in a really long time, where I wasn't worrying about my partner. I wasn't worrying about anything that I had to do in a leadership role. We were just going out and climbing fun objectives that we both wanted to do. And that was really, really great. I don't really know why I went on that tangent, but I think, because I want to not burn out on these things.
For sure. So then you can keep your passion and keep doing it.
And so that's the qualm of where I'm at in life is I have everything I'm doing is because I'm passionate about it. And a lot of people say, don't mix your passion with work.
Well, I would say that don't sacrifice your pay because of passion.
Yeah.
You need to make it sustainable.
Totally.
Right? So in terms of, say, compensation or in terms of mental health, right? Because otherwise passion is going to be a liability.
And so that's what I was finding with the mentor movement is it was full form passion project. I built a website. I hired someone to do it. I was going down the path of nonprofit. It was a different name at one point. And I found out that I had to change the name, that there were some other hurdles that I had to go through, and then I took a break. And then I tried to redo it again. But the thing is it's still not, there's no money that I'm making for the mentor movement. And so with the Ladies Weekend Out, with Jess of All Trades, I'm actually making money in that. So I pulled the brakes on the mentor movement. It's all still sitting there. It's all still an idea, still just a little egg waiting to hatch, and I'm moving forward on these other things because in a way they're all connected. With the Just of All Trades, I'm helping in turning your house into a home. In the Ladies Weekend Out, we're building community and teaching people foundational skills, and no matter between the two of those, it's building that foundation, whether it's your home or your community, and then being able to grow from there. And with the mentor movement, I see that as an encompassing thing, whether it's bringing people in that want to learn handiwork, how to work with tools, how to build and fix things, or whether that's bringing mentees and mentors alike in with the Ladies Weekend Out programs and with Golden State Guiding, with other guide services too. That's the beauty of these programs is I don't want them to be a guide service.
And have you thought about, like you already do a little bit of mentoring in the Ladies Weekend Out, and then put something more official, like into the Ladies Weekend Out. I mean, seems like there's some ladies that they are so enthusiastic about it. They might not want to be a full-fledged guide,
Totally.
but they might want to say, hey, I can shadow, like in one of the events, so then I learn all the tricks and I can be a leader eventually. And they could potentially organize their little weekend gathering for their own Ladies Weekend Out.
And so that's where I'm trying to move the correlation of Ladies Weekend Out and the mentor movement into one entity in creating some sort of mentorship program within Ladies Weekend Out. The only qualm that I'm running into is we don't want to increase our prices because they're already fairly accessible, or the most accessible within most guide services. And I have been asking for funds from brands that we started to work with. However, I'm finding that the outdoor industry, for some reason, is in this massive lull. There's a bunch of price cuts. I know REI, I know Knowles just had massive cutbacks as well. And so there's this, maybe a recession's on the horizon, politics, all the things. But it's been really hard to find financial help for any sort of programs that I want to create within the Ladies Weekend Out. So I'm trying to figure out how to potentially run that more on the fuel of passion, or create a Kickstarter or some sort of GoFundMe or some sort of fundraising platform. And again, this is just where I'm starting to stretch myself really thin in doing all of these things that I'm already doing and then trying to create another thing on top of it where it's just myself. Because I'm more or less okay working for free for a little bit for these programs, but I cannot, out of the goodness of my heart, ask other guides to show up and work these for free because it's just not fair.
And how about, so you realize that, well, if, in order to push this forward, you need help, right? So you just mentioned that. So what kind of help you think you need, other than potentially financial help? There's some brands or whatever, some funds or some grant that potentially can help. And how about other type of help that you're thinking?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not ideally going to be the only mentor. I don't want to be the only mentor. I need all the mentors as possible. And so that's why I think with these programs, I would love to work with other guide services. I would love to work with other guides, get other opinions, and hear other people's voices that are interested in becoming mentors in a bigger capacity. And being able to collaborate across the board of, hey, here's the mentor movement for climbing. Here's the book that we have. Here are the checklists that we have. Here are the things that we all try to achieve when we teach others about climbing within the mentor movement programs. And then ideally we could do that with mountain biking or any other discipline if people were stoked and passionate about that. And so the things that I would need help with are just finding like-minded individuals that are interested in growing mentorship in that capacity and willing to also share their passions or share their resources, whether it's athletes that want to give back, brands that want to give back, climbing gyms that want to give back. There's so many resources out there that we can partner with in creating this type of mentorship space. Being able to have a monthly meetup at a climbing gym and, hey, we're going to go over some anchors at the beginning of this meetup, and then we're all going to go climb within this group of people that are all interested in learning the same topic. And then just with that, you're meeting like-minded individuals, you're growing the community, and ideally then you like, hey, the next month we're going to learn about leading sport. And then we have some people that are proficient at leading sport come out. And then we pair them up and go climbing in a climbing gym because it's a safe environment. But that's the partnership with the climbing gyms. That's the partnership with the brands that are interested in creating a more accessible educational space, because guides shouldn't be doing this for free. You don't see doctors going, I mean, yeah, some doctors go to free clinics and they help out every once in a while, but you don't see that type of, like, there needs to be a different dialogue that comes with what guides are putting out there, and then the compensation that guides get for being mentors or teaching in these spaces and being those true educators. They might more so get paid for the course that they're teaching, and then they get a free day pass to go climb, or however that looks. But it's figuring out the compensation for not just myself and running this, but giving back to the guide teams. I'm tired of guides working programs for free. I was tired of working programs for free. Like, it's just, oh, well, you're learning the skill, so you'll just like do that one for free. And it's just like, well, but I'm teaching all these people and I'm bringing value to this. So in that sense, we should find some sort of compensation as well. And I think that definitely goes back to the finances of that is extremely helpful to make these programs run. Because I do a lot of the back end stuff. I mean, all of the mentor movement projects are all passion filled. And maybe that's also, I need to apply for grants and scholarships, but that's also a whole other thing as well. So
definitely. I mean, grant writing is a full-time job. I remember when I was in school, and my advisor, that's what she did. It's just write grant proposals. It's hard.
Yeah, and it's like you said, it's another full-time job. Mm-hmm. And so, yeah, if there were other folks that were really interested in mentorship and were really great at writing grants and telling this story and trying to get funding on other platforms, that would also be great, because we'd be able to start figuring out ways to actually facilitate these meetups, facilitate these programs, and create that backing so that the people that are making the programs run also get compensated for all the back end work that goes into it. I mean, creating a website in its own is dozens and dozens of hours of work. potentially even hundreds of hours of work, depending on how in-depth it
depends
is.
on what kind of website you want to build. Yeah, and definitely, because I also build my own website, and it's one of the most time-consuming stuff. You just kind of suck your time.
Totally. Yeah, you start at 8 a.m. in the morning, and then all of a sudden it's 8 p.m. at night, and you're like, I just finished the homepage, and you're just like, oh my gosh. It's just, it's a whole ordeal, and I definitely can empathize with that.
Great. And I don't know, to be honest, I never knew who is listening to the podcast, but we certainly very welcome any help, any proposal, any ideas. So, saying that, how do people find you? What's the best way?
Yeah, one of the best ways to find me is Instagram.
So what's your Instagram?
Jessie Leese. I just love to confuse people with all my many names. But it's JESSIELYSE.
I'll put it on the show note for
Great.
sure. And I'll also link to your website, including your handy business, Ladies Week, and now your mentor movement, right? So all of them have website, right?
I'm working on a Jess of All Trades website. Currently, it's just made by Jess of All Trades on Instagram. I also sell a bunch of jewelry on there too, because I do all of the things. And the Ladies Weekend Out is just at Ladies Weekend Out on Instagram. And
because I also have a bunch of mentorship ideas, but because I certainly have a lot of women ask me about that, and they are at very different phase at their climbing journey, and none of them, I remember myself though in the past, I was like, I kind of wanted to learn, but the only available was AMG courses. So that's how I accidentally became a guide. But I think there should be some more affordable and more community building way to mentor people and to help them to achieve their dreams.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a couple different ways out there, but there's no path similar to the AMGA, or at least that runs alongside it for folks that want to be just safe recreationalists. Similar to how the area courses have now split into Area 1, 2, and Companion Rescue, and then you have your Pro 1, your Pro 2. There's a specific course if you want to be a professional leading, taking trips out and all of that. But there's also a path if you want to be a recreationalist and just going out with friends and being a leader that way.
I think I like that approach. I think that in the rock discipline, I don't know whether we have this official organization doing this style thing, right? I do know there's some nonprofit, like within their nonprofit. For example, in Seattle, the Mountaineer has long history of running programs. They run by their own members and stuff.
Yeah, and also like Climbers of Colors.
Right.
They have like a really great way to get into the leadership roles and shadowing courses and stuff like that. But it's more so within smaller organizations and really trying to figure out how do we create that accessibility? How do we create that educational space for people to feel like they belong, feel like they can grow, and they don't need to take it on a professional level, but they can feel really well put together and just feel more well-rounded at the end of the courses that they're taking, in kind of checking off those boxes or checking off those tasks so that they can be a really good belayer or just a really good part, again, in that relationship. So good.
Nice. And I usually ask some questions for all my guests. So one thing I would love, just look back in your career or decision making. What's the proudest moment?
Oh, my proudest moment. Gosh, there's a couple. I was really proud that I climbed El Cap via the nose for my 30th birthday.
Nice.
I climbed it with two wonderful humans from the UK, and we just celebrated the whole time, and that was really, really cool. There were definitely some challenges that were faced en route, and we made the most of it. And that was just like something that I had always looked up to, and I was like, I'm never going to do that. And then I just set this goal. I was like, for my 30th birthday, I'm climbing 30 pitches, and I'm climbing the nose. And we made it in 30 pitches, and we climbed the nose, and I woke up to my friends singing me happy birthday at Camp 6, and then we continued to climb to the summit, and I got to take the last 2 pitches and had the summit to myself on my birthday, which was just like so special. So that's like the first thing that really like comes to me. And also just like these programs and the friends that I've made, the friends that I've seen through the years. Like I mentioned Jen, who's come out for 7 or 8. We've lost count at this point. But it was so cool to see her on her very first Ladies Weekend Out event. And she didn't really know much about climbing. And she had a bit of experience, but wasn't the confident self that she is today. And now she's taking out, she has like a lead climb club at the gym that she climbs at. And they go and they climb outdoors. And she's a leader within that group. And she's a leader within her friends and the people that she meets at these events and the people that she continues to grow with. And my college roommate who started coming out to these events, Natalie, and she has come from like knowing absolutely nothing about climbing and getting really scared at the top of the first climb that she ever climbed on to cruising up a multi-pitch and being a fantastic climbing partner. And just being able to see those individuals and all of the other people that I've been able to work with, they're why I keep doing it. I sometimes get really down on myself and depressed on like, why am I doing this? My soul is being sucked dry. And then I have one of these weekends and I'm like, oh my gosh, sign me up for the next one. Can we do it every weekend? Like, it's just, they're so empowering. And the people that show up are the exact people that need to be there. And it's really amazing time after time to just see that growth, to see who comes out, to see the guide team continue to expand. And that is, I'm really, really proud of that.
And say if the listeners listen to this podcast can only take one thing away, what do you wish they take away?
Build a solid foundation in whatever you do.
Foundations.
It's something that I repeat time and time again. But if you are truly passionate about something or you want to get into anything, figure out what will make that solid foundation so that you can grow in whatever way, shape, and form. Whether that's simple body movement, body understanding, gear, systems, whatever it might be, just create a solid foundation to move from.
And this is definitely a solid advice. I would totally concur that even you think it's slow process, but it's totally worth it because it's gonna speed you up later.
Slow is smooth and smooth is fast. And that is something that I very much live by.
Nice. Whew. Awesome. I'm glad I have the chance when you're still in Vegas to interview you. And so I'll put everything on the show now. And listeners, wherever you are, please spread the love and then tell us whatever ideas you have.
Please, I'm open to all ideas and love collaborating.